r/Life of Norman by the Bearded Brit. 15 minutes before going home, Norman received an email. It was from Lisa. "Hi Norman," it read. "I found this website called Reddit. They have a few funny stories about an unremarkable guy called Drew. I thought you might find them amusing. See you tomorrow, Lisa X." The email came with a link, so Norman clicked through a few of the stories before he finished up. They were all quite amusing. One or two even reminded him of himself. On his way home, Norman came up with an idea for his own story. It involved this man, Drew, entering a restroom and finding that only 2 of the 4 urinals were free, and the difficult decision who he would choose to squeeze up next to in order to do his business. For the rest of the journey home, Norman worked out the whole story. When he arrived home, after greeting Norman, he eagerly switched on his monitor and found the Reddit website. Soon enough, he found the Life of Drew page. Then he noticed how many stories were already posted on there. There's a lot of stories, Norman thought. I doubt anyone will read mine. It's a pretty dull one anyway. Norman switched off his monitor and went to microwave his dinner. CSI would be on soon anyway. Norman was at the convenience store. He was particularly parched that morning, and he looked at his options. He reached for a caffeine-free Coke, Norman's favourite, but he paused. I have a long day ahead of me, thought Norman. I could use a pick-me-up. Norman grabbed a regular Coke instead. Norman was getting into his car to drive to work when, on a whim, he decided he should add some variety to his routine. He decided to take the subway instead. It wouldn't lead straight to his destination, but maybe he would meet an interesting character along the way. Change is a good thing, thought Norman. The only seat that was available was next to a young, attractive woman. From a distance, Norman contemplated if he should take the seat. What if someone needs the seat more than I do? There may be an elderly person or a pregnant woman in need of the seat. There wasn't. Perhaps that woman would feel uncomfortable if I sat next to her. I'm sure she gets unwanted attention from strange men all day and would dislike it if I sat there. She wouldn't. No, thought Norman. I'm sure I'm overreacting. My feet are beginning to hurt a little anyway. He makes his way over to the seat when the woman sets her purse down in the vacant seat next to her. Norman stops in his tracks. Embarrassed, someone may have seen him gesture towards the seat. Her purse was probably very heavy. She needs that seat more than I do. Norman finally arrives at his destination. To his surprise, he's only 4 minutes early instead of his usual 7 when he drives. I got it pretty close there. Maybe I should stick to driving, thought Norman. All these stories come from the amazing subreddit r/Life of Norman. You'll find a link in the video description. If you end up writing a short story of your own, you should 100% let me know, as I'm always looking for new stories to add to these videos. Norman was in a great mood today. The boss called him Norm instead of Norman, making Norman feel special, like he was one of the guys. He felt productive, focused and motivated. Later at home, he decided he would write down a list of all the chores to do for the day. His notepad was sitting on the table next to his love seat. The same notepad he bought weeks ago when he felt motivated to write down his chores. The notepad was, however, untouched. I won't let procrastination get the best of me this time, thought Norman. I'm going to write this list, stick it on the fridge, and get my chores done one by one. Norman sat on the love seat and grabbed his notepad. Rats, thought Norman. I left the pen on the nightstand across the room. It was a good 5 steps away. Norman looked at his notepad, then the pen, then back to the notepad. Only this time, the remote control on the table behind the notepad now caught Norman's eye. It was just within reach with minimal effort required. Maybe just a few rounds of The Price is Right, and then I'll get right to that list. Norman forgot about the list. The thermostat at work is turned down to 68 degrees. Norman is wearing his short sleeve, button-down shirt because of the summer weather, but he's been shivering at his desk all morning. It felt much colder than what the thermostat displayed. Norman can see the thermostat from his cubicle, but does not want to assume the authority to set the temperature for the entire office. So instead, he stares at it longingly, shivering slightly in his desk chair. Other people are cold as well. He hears Linda complaining to Bob over their cubicle divider about how cold it is. Norman wonders, who was it that changed the thermostat? Norman wouldn't touch the thermostat, but instead would bring a light jacket with him the next day. Norman wore that jacket at his desk for the next week until the thermostat was readjusted by someone to a more reasonable 72. Norman was taking his usual walk home when he noticed a flyer on the telephone pole. "Try our yoga class," read the headline. Norman certainly had never done anything like yoga before, so he figured he would give it a try. You only live once, thought Norman. He rips off one of the perforated tags with a phone number on the bottom of the flyer, places it in his pants pocket and heads home. Later that night, Norman is doing his laundry and watching CSI. He'd seen this episode before, and it wasn't even a particularly good one, but it made no difference. Suddenly, Norman realised he'd never removed the tag with the phone number from his pants pocket before putting it in the washer. He quickly stops the machine mid-wash and removes the paper from his pants pocket. He's worried the phone number may not be legible at this point. To Norman's surprise, it's still perfectly legible. Norman looks at it and thinks for a few moments, before reluctantly dropping it in the trash. I probably wouldn't have enjoyed it anyway, thought Norman. He placed the pants back in the washer and continued to watch CSI while he folded his towels. You'll find links in the description to all the stories featured in this video. If you have a particular story you'd like me to voice, pop it in the comments below. If you want more stories from the life of Norman, subscribe to this channel as I aim to post new videos 2-3 times a week.